We would like to take a moment of silence for Mr. Sharp. I know that there were some people that had asked us to do that because they were a little upset that someone that was our town supervisor and, the chief of the fire police and was on the LVPA was not even mentioned until Joanne brought it up and then Meg talked about it. So we'll do a moment of silence for him. Keep his family in your prayers. Hey everyone, it is Joanne Phillips with Let's Talk About It, and
Tammy Warner.
so we, for entertainment purposes only, and be sure to like, share, and follow. I'm going to apologize because I have a feeling this podcast to be rather long, and
Well, interesting if nothing else.
Interesting if nothing else. I'm going to try to take the emotion out of it, but it's really hard when you get continuously attacked.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I'm going to take all the emotion out of it. I actually stopped watching the board meeting last night because I knew I would not get to sleep if I continued to watch it. So I woke up and watched, the rest of it when I got up this morning with my coffee. Because, and also being as close as I am to the town hall, there's a certain person who should be so grateful that they did not walk
That we weren't there, yeah. So I was and the amount of messages that I got last night during the board meeting was astounding. And they were all the same messages, which is interesting. Very disappointed.
Yes.
Very disappointed in last night's meeting.
To me, last night was not a board meeting. It was the board putting together a meeting to try and take away the fact that it's obvious they haven't been doing things the way they should be getting done, which is why we're doing all these changes and what have you. And instead of just taking that, trying to basically
diversion.
Yeah, divert and what would be the word I would use?
Disparage.
Divert and smear. Yes, that's exactly it. And smear people from this town.
Yeah. So we're just going to zip through parts of this, other parts not so much zip through. The town supervisor did make a correction. Maybe it wasn't a correction. Maybe she saw the feedback and thought,
clarification.
Clarification on privilege of the floor.
I think is the way they put it.
So the deal is now the first privilege of the floor, it has to be about agenda items only.
Right.
And they will read the emails and they will read, and people will talk in person as long as it has to do with an agenda item. The second privilege of the floor is for anything else plus agenda items. So that's an important change.
And I want to note that personally, and I'm not the only one that probably felt it because it wouldn't have been mentioned as fact as to what the connection was, but I don't think that all the first privileges of the floor really were about the agenda.
Right. And I also, my opinion, this is not fact, my opinion, Katie McVeigh's privilege of the floor was read, and the last privilege of the floor, and it was the same exact thing that we read 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And based on what her privilege of the floor would have been if it was the first privilege of the floor, you would have saw that what she was talking about in that privilege of the floor is exactly what happened last night.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for this podcast, it will be fact-based. However, it's also personal-based. So let's just state that. So we're going to start with the first privilege of the floor. Tammy and I are going to take the time to address something individually and try not to interrupt each other because that's going to be really hard. So one of the first privilege of the floors, I'll start with Mr. Modine. Mr. Modine basically said that the privilege of the floor, she's taking away the First Amendment right, and that it needs to be changed per resolution. That's a short version of that story. And then Mr. McGinnis did a privilege of the floor. And in case you didn't know, they're moving out of town. They're moving to East Greenbush, I believe. But he did do a privilege of the
Yes, William.
floor. And I'm just going to hit some of the highlights as to what he said. Stay under control, Tammy. One of the things that they're moving because they wanted single living, senior friendly housing, which they're not able to find in New Lebanon, and hopes that the town makes that a priority in the future. He feels that we're truly fortunate to have a very strong supervisor with the vision and the board to find solutions for the community as a whole. The only negative is social media. A group of amateur quarterbacks in town who choose to criticize under the guise of questioning. They do not accept the majority citizens' vote and try to tear down rather than unite. When social media keyboard warriors or blogs, which were for some reason we're being referred to as a blog rather than a podcast, with their perceived negatives, it diminishes not only them, meaning us, but a willingness to others to participate and ask questions at the community forum. I suggest we use the community forums that are getting started to let's get factual information rather than filtered through individual bias. This town is very transparent and needs to get back to being neighborly. Costing the town many with the many foils comes across as vindictive and petty grievances trying to justify themselves. These foils seem to be used for vitriol and to settle scores from people who the majority said no thank you to their drama. Eh? So I'm going to address a couple of things here, right? And that is, I'm going to address the FOIL requests because out of the people that lost the election, I'm the only one that has put in FOIL requests. And I would also want to say that this is really rich coming from the person who was absolutely horrendous to certain people during the election. The rift between him and Craig was expected, but then he came after Joanne, who was supposed to be one of his friends, and me, accusing us of colluding and having private information that no one else had, which wasn't true because anything I stated was from board meetings. Now, the FOIA requests. How would he possibly know who put in FOIA requests? If my name is being discussed, that raises a bigger concern about how information is being handled behind the scenes. Gossiping about it in the town hall is not appropriate and can cross into privacy and possibly become legally questionable behavior. Second, let's be clear, none of my FOIA requests have been about an individual. They have been focused on financial records, policies, and how taxpayers' money is being managed. That's not personal, that's oversight and accountability. Trying to frame transparency as retaliation is a distraction. Asking questions about public money is not settling scores, is exactly what residents and taxpayers are supposed to do. Just like I suggested to Mr. CFO, is to dig into the financials. Whether someone agrees with me or not, it doesn't change the facts on the record. Lastly, if anything, the real issue isn't who's asking for the information, it's why there's a discomfort when the information is requested in the first place. It also bases the question of why are there so many FOIA requests if the town is so transparent? So where me and Tammy are concerned, we're just really tired about some people making it about personalities rather than taxpayer oversight. And I will also add in here that, Mr. McGinnis was again back in the thick of things of just lying, trashing us until his party stomped on him and told him to stop, and then he took all of his comments down.
Mhm.
So when you can talk about Craig all you want, but he was just as bad. And unfortunately, this was a phone call and not in writing. There are people, many people that he thinks are his friends that talk shit about him and roll their
Mhm.
eyes when he walks in a room. And it's
Yep.
unfortunate.
Yep.
It's unfortunate.
I think David is, get my opinion. David is a very two-faced individual. Um, I don't appreciate, again, it felt like a big, uh, for lack of a better term, I mean, a big butt kissing session last night, coming out of his mouth.
Well, I think a lot of it probably had to do with probably the personal feeling that Craig was attacking the seniors, and that's really not what he was doing or
It's
what
not
work
what was
we do.
happening.
No.
But David's whole, again, and I've been to David's home, in the very beginning. David and I were friends. I went to his home. I encouraged Joanna, to get to know him. I enjoyed my time at his home. I had a lovely afternoon. And then as time went on, you see the other side of that face. And some people are just snakes. And
Well, according to
again,
some, that would be us.
well, we know who the snakes are. You can call us whatever you want. You can accuse us of what you want. But if anybody was to look at any one of our videos, all we have done is presented facts and the truth. We have not been spreading lies, rumors, gossip. We're not trying to cause a divide. Like we've said, things need to be done the right way. And obviously, with the changes that we're seeing being made, things weren't being done the right way. And instead of just taking that, on the cuff for what it is and saying, okay, we're gonna, there's a retaliation going on. Like, how dare you, speak on the faults? Uh, we
Again, it's not personal. It's about policy.
right, we all got them. It's about that, and David, I'm sorry, but David is very self-serving. And his words last night about keyboard warriors and what have you, dude, you're the biggest one. Okay, you were the biggest one when I first got onto a page. And it was all good as long as everybody agrees with you. But the minute you're not agreed with, you turn nasty. And we've all seen it. And you're a bully on top of that. You are a bully. You have bullied seniors. You are the reason that many seniors will not join
That is the
the
truth. And I do
seniors.
want to interject in there that during campaign season, we heard from seniors,
Multiple.
multiple seniors, that they were being bullied at the senior meetings for putting up our signs or posting stuff about us, to the point that
Dare you?
like, that is not okay.
No,
Not okay.
no. And and again, I'm going to speak on the seniors. Joanna's going to speak on the seniors. Craig's going to speak on the seniors. You know why? Because guess what? We're freaking seniors. So therefore we have a right. And I'm a senior that I could join the senior and I could do all those fun things that they're out doing and what have you and have a good time. But read the room, read the world, read the economy of where we are today and the needs of our community and those in it. And the ones that are spouting about, oh, this with the, you know, it's just, it shouldn't be because we're out having a good time and whatnot. No, it's not that. But also the people, David, those that live a very privileged life already, to be this adamant about a good time seems very selfish, very greedy, when we know for facts that there is a real struggle going on right now, and not just our community, all around the country, all around the country. And was it Jim last night?
Jim Carroll. And we'll talk about that when we get to the
No, I'm
privilege of the
just saying,
floor.
he made a good point about, you know, can't some of that money go toward, like I thought, you put it in a fund. So come the winter time when there are elderly in the community that can't get out and shovel and can't get out and clean their walkways, maybe we can say, hey, we got any high schoolers, kids in the community want to earn a few bucks and, do this for to me, that's money spent helping the community.
Right.
And we're not begrudging a good time. If we're in the state where everybody's, we're all doing good, that's fine. But right
Right.
now, let's read what's going on. And people need more than your wants, David.
So, and so this is going to bring us into the conversation in regards to Craig's, questioning, um, where the money's being sent. And
We really didn't get a clear answer, truthfully. It was a bunch of word garbage again.
well, we did get some answers that
Well,
maybe weren't so intentional, but I was very disappointed. In the 25 minutes of carrying on and approximately 18 minutes of council member Tipagroff's response was disparaging Craig
mhm,
rather than just answering the question.
yep.
Um,
How disrespectful and very unprofessional again from where you are sitting. And truthfully, I expected more from Susan. I was extremely disappointed. Actually, that's when I had to stop watching last night because I was so
this
disappointed.
certainly is not bridging the divide
No,
by any
no,
stretch
no.
of the imagination.
I know that I have shown Susan more respect than that. When I've had people saying things that I felt had zero to do with whatever and whatnot, I have spoken up. So for her to do that
I was
to
very
me was just,
disappointed.
yeah, and I had to stop watching last night when that happened. Mm,
So the question that Craig put out, he did and privilege of the floor. And the long and short of it was, what can we get an accountability of the $13,800? That was the question, which turned into a tirade about his voting record and he passes through on the just as Jim Carroll said, just the facts, ma'am.
Yep.
So, and apparently we now have 150 members of the seniors, and 72 of those are taxpayers. Probably almost a third of those 72 people only pay school taxes. That's a guess. I'm going to go with a third based on the number of town taxpayers there was during the election from the list I had. So a third of them do not pay a portion of those taxes that gets given to them. They pay school taxes, which has nothing to do with the town or the county taxes. Neither here nor there. I digress. So the long and short of it was, so for 2026 so far, 3 bus trips equaling $6,550. In the December holiday meal at Mario's was $2,217. And I can tell you that there was pictures posted of that, and there was a lot of non-taxpayers.
I bet there was.
Yeah.
I bet there was.
And she did also say that, yes, those buses pay for people from other areas that are not taxpayers. She also said for 2000.
Okay, they're riding the buses, but are they footing their own bill for wherever they're going?
Well, so here's the deal. Like if memory serves me correct from when my mom was on the seniors and my Aunt Patty, was you have to pay, if it's an overnight, you have to pay for the overnight. If you have to pay to get into someplace, they have to pay it, but the bus trips we pay for. So in 2025, $812 was paid for a luncheon put on by Woodlife. $650 was paid to the farmers market for a luncheon. There was $350 spent for gift cards and stuff for bingo. And I think the number that she gave was that the seniors spent $12,999. I just want to go back to something that the December, I think the was it in December, the Mario's luncheon? I'm not sure. It was November or December. That didn't get paid until 2026. Conspiracy theory. Why wasn't it paid in 25? Because they would have put them under budget, over budget. I'm not sure. But they have spent the majority of their money this year. So the long and short of that is it's really all that had to be said instead of
And she
18
also tried to
minutes.
make it sound, like, well, these are local businesses that are getting this
And that's
money
a
and what,
valid
and
point.
that is valid
It's
and
a
that
valid
is
point.
fine. But you know what? Like I said, put that money aside, so come winter time, things, for the elderly in the community that don't go, to these things and can't afford to do those things that can get there. Hey, local kids can make some money.
So here's the thing. Like, I don't have a problem with the seniors doing fun things, and Tammy
No,
doesn't
we
either.
don't.
And it's not that we want to take the fun things away, and it's not that we even want to take the 13,800 away. What to, so if we can do that for fun things, let's take another
Exactly.
13,800 and put it towards those that need help. I mean, don't get me wrong. And also there was more conversation about, this is the 50th year of the seniors and they,
Well, and David
and how
also
good
mentioned
it
how,
is.
he, had a friend call him that needed a Ring doorbell installed, and he did it. Well, good for you, David, for doing something kind for a friend. You
I
want
mean, in this,
credit for that?
in this, they do help. Okay, and
But, that's not what we're talking about. Again, that's being
the point,
petty.
because the point has been missed here. Like
Yeah.
the whole point has been missed.
Yeah. Again, there is a need right now that's very desperate, very desperate. And for a party that considers themselves so empathetic and compassionate and should follow through with that. It's one thing to say it and say you are, it's another thing to show it. And when you have someone standing there living an extremely privileged life and should be grateful that he's able to go do all the fun things in life without even needing the seniors. And instead of saying, you know what, there's a need and I don't need this trip, I already do trips. I think that the need of the community, of the seniors in the community that need an actual need and not a want, should come first.
Correct, but I think in some of their minds they do that. I mean, I'm
That's
not in their
fine.
mind.
They
I
can
don't
think
really.
whatever they want. This
But
is
I mean,
this
we
is
at the
how it
end of the
is.
day, though, Tammy, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. We do really don't know what they do.
That's fine.
You know,
That's fine. But the
but
point being is there is a need. And
right.
again, I'm speaking
But there's
especially
always a need. See, I
of
mean,
this
it's
one individual who
yeah,
does live a privileged life
yeah,
and is going to
and
stand there and act like he's being so attacked and the seniors are being so attacked. You know what?
we and and again, we're not talking about taking it away. We're
No,
talking about what are we doing for the seniors that aren't members and that need help. And when we get to the end of the privilege of the floor, we'll say what Jim Carroll did. I thought he had the stellar conversation of the night.
yes.
Um, so some other before we get to the other heavy subject here, one of two more. Walkable downtown letters of interest. They actually didn't go out for letters of interest, but two people put in letters of interest, so they're taking those on into the committee. The community center usage, apparently we have the money budgeted through ARPA money for the water system, but Department of Health wants an engineer's whole thing now. And Councilmember Amlaw asked, so can you use the water to cook? And the response was yes, but I actually thought that was no earlier on. You can't drink it. So what's in the water that you can't drink it, but you can cook with it? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The bid surplus, it was decided not to accept the bid on the cat loader. Policy review, nobody changed anything, but they do still need to change the email in that. Job descriptions, resignations. Now, if you remember, if you watched the last video, for the resignation for the marketing and communications committee, you may have noticed an edit when we were talking about that, because it was a personal conversation with me and Tammy that I said, this is exactly what she's going to say. And this is
Yep.
exactly.
I asked Joanna this morning, I said, do you save all the parts that weren't in? She's like, yes, I do. I said, good, because that's proof that you called it before the meeting.
I've studied this person for many years. And, the fact that opinion, it was originally 7 members, but then when the interviews happened, there was more people that they wanted to put on. So they took it to 8. Also, again, as discussed, because you can hear everything that goes on in that room, that they would not be choosing me and Darla. We were an absolute no, and they would rather go out for letters of interest again rather than to put it. And I'm not butthurt about it, quite honestly. But so yeah, I called it. She wasn't going to fill it, and it was going to go
Yeah,
back to the
that's
7, and that's
unity.
fine.
That's trying to bring forth unity right there.
Okay, so here's where we get into that fun stuff. Another fun thing, resolution establishing a procedure to accrue interest separately to each reserve fund. She kept saying that this was a recommendation by the auditor. This is what should have been being done all along. And again, this is all stuff that I had presented to the town board. Well, actually, Tammy did, and to the comptroller of the things that weren't getting done that needed to be
Yeah.
done.
But we're
Not
the
starting
evil
trouble,
ones.
just
We're
do
the evil
things the
ones.
right way.
Facts are bad. Boy, does that sound.
Yeah. This is what should have been done all along. As I said, it's all the money is in the VIP account, which is fine because it's a high interest bearing account. But they all need to be broken down by fund and not allocated to the general fund. It's not the general fund's money. That's a reserve account in theory. We'll get to that, but and in the resolution, she only broke it down for the facilities, equipment in Shafford Park. These should also, I could be wrong, be done for the leftover ARPA funds, the LVPA, because it's a special fund, um, Ghost Road, and the escrow accounts. So it was brought up, and I understand you're getting massaged for a tax increase. So because now we have to do it the right way,
For sure.
and so the words switched a little bit from recommended to this is how we have to do it now. It means that because the general fund can't, I'm gonna say it, steal the interest money. It's going to kind of put us into the general fund into a $22,000 hole. Just a bigger hole. There's also the possibility that based on the economy right now, the sales tax revenue might be lower. So she stated that they need to find a different avenue for revenue generation, which someone in the audience said, oh, you should charge for FOIL reports, because they need to decrease the expenditures by $22,000. The options are to freeze spending, find a way to cut costs, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I can come up with $4,000 right off the top of my head. That's wasteful spending. $3,500 a year for text my gov. We've gotten 2 text messages since it started.
Yeah.
The speed limit little thing that's moved around that really does not accomplish anything except for let people slow down for a minute, that we spend $500 a year on.
Well, that and it's not even positioned properly in certain areas.
So, and I go back to, we can do the smoke and mirrors of I haven't raised taxes because, and again, inflation and raises, and most people, even people that are pro town supervisor, will say we should have been doing at least a 2% increase a year to cover salary raises
Yep.
and inflation. But we would rather tout, I haven't raised taxes. Actually,
Yep.
they've lowered,
And,
which
and,
is
and then in the process of all that too, starting multiple large projects,
right.
it makes for a good show. It makes for a good showing. It looks pretty. It looks pretty till it doesn't.
So, right. So this is what happens when you don't raise taxes in for a little bit for inflation and raises. I mean, and let's talk about the money that our taxpayers pay for food for um potluck, the amount of money that we spend on food, the amount of money that we're spending on flyers and ink for everything that happens at and I'm not shitting on the community center.
No,
I will
but we're
say the
just saying
majority
if
of the
we
things
have to
that happen.
tighten,
What?
you're not, shitting on. You're just saying if there's, things need to be tightened, the belt needs to be tightened. There are areas to look into.
In the majority of the stuff that happens at the community center, and I think I can't remember
And
who
I
said
love
it.
Alyssa at
Actually, I
the
think I
community
can remember
center.
who said it.
Alyssa Ross is just a wonderful human being.
The majority of the stuff that happens at the community center is during the day, where a lot of people working can't go. You want to bring in more revenue? Figure out a way to get more rentals at the community center. Not happening. So I don't see how taxes aren't going to go up. So we'll just see how the year goes on that. So I guess let me get this straight. 13,800 is, 2 gallons of gas and a drop in the bucket, but 22,000 is going to break the bank. Can also drop down the newsletter because at this point, some don't even get it. A lot of them don't read it and they throw it away. Slim it down and maybe do it semi-annually. I don't know why we're going after departments to cut when we should be looking at outside stuff, such as events and finding ways to, again, getting a program to help with redacting documents for the FOIL request. So rather than focusing on who makes the town run, we're looking at not defunding the wants, but we're going to defund the needs. It doesn't make any sense. I have very little doubt that she won't try to find a way to use the insurance money to balance the budget. And that is just 100% wrong. So in that conversation, Council member Amlaw asked the town supervisor what she does, as it seems that the accountant does everything. And I actually had to listen to this twice. I had to go back and listen to it again. So, and again, there was an edit because I told Tammy what the response was going to be for this too, and spot on.
Yep.
He has worked for many other towns and has been through many audits. He knows that these things that he's now doing should have been getting done. There are also so many things in my mind. There's also so many things that could be done in-house. Most of it, actually. In my mind, you should be doing everything in-house and only sending him numbers so he can put reports together monthly.
She claims, well, according to her words last night, she does it all.
So this is what she said. She prepares budget amendments. I will say on a side note, the accountant does help her a lot with that. She prepares the budgets. And I will also tell you that I have been told by previous board members and previous town supervisor that that is not the case, that the accountant does the budget. And I'm going to guess that the accountant would do, and I'm just saying, this isn't conspiracy theory. I'm telling you the information that I got from other people that have been involved in this situation. And no, it wasn't Craig Skirkus. So I have been told that she doesn't. So maybe what happens is the accountant puts the original budget together. She also then goes to the department heads to see what they need and how much it's going to cost. And I'm sure that she does do that. And she may change numbers with the accountant's help. So this is where it gets a little sketchy for me because I'm going to just straight up say this is a lie and I have emails to prove it. She said that things get tracked through the town clerk. She said things get tracked, I think it's the BAS system. She makes it sound like everything gets tracked in the town hall. It does not. And I spoke to the town clerk last year. The only thing, and if I'm wrong, somebody please come and correct me, that gets done in the town hall is the bills get approved to be paid by the town board. That information goes to the town clerk, who then puts it into the BAS system, which gives you an abstract. That's all you have. What we see on the supervisor's report is an abstract. Those bills then go to the accountant for that accountant to pay the bills. So all we're doing is approving bills and doing an abstract. It gets a little weird because I was pretty sure, well, I know that some departments do, but I was pretty sure that we were balancing our own bank statements. I'm not so sure about that now, but I don't know that. Um, she reconciles the bank statements and then with verifying payments and deposits, and then he does the same thing, and then they compare. Makes no sense to me. Oh, a little side note: apparently, the accountant uses Peachtree, which is actually not recommended for municipality.
I know she also said how we pay less than other towns pay for an
It's because
accountant.
we were doing less.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe if our accountant was doing what was supposed to be done, what do you
So
pay
this is the
for
one that
partial
gets me.
incompetence?
She's saying the accountant's reports aren't new information that we didn't have through the BAS and the town clerk's office and system. It's just his software and system report compared to RBS report system. I can tell you right now, and I have the receipts. I could not get any reports, a very simple report of what was our annual sales tax numbers per year for 7 years. I couldn't get that. She had to wait for the accountant.
Right.
There was another report asked for, couldn't get that, had to wait for the accountant. I asked for the fund balances per fund, the reserves. Well, you have to look on the year end report. We don't do that. Well, you're supposed to. Um, so the town supervisor has no ability to pull financial reports directly herself. This is also, I'll go back to the unemployment insurance information that we were getting tax warrants for. Our CFO budget officer did not know how to get into the state's unemployment system. Someone had to show her how to do it. She had to go to the accountant to get the login because he has all the logins. So there is nothing that is pretty much nothing financial that is done in house. And I think that's a really big mistake.
Yep.
You should be able to press a button and it should spit out a report for you.
Yep. In this day and age, please.
It's
There's
crazy.
no reason why, you know.
Also, his reports instead of once a year and kind of checking everything. We are now doing that on a monthly basis, and that was one of the suggestions from the comptroller, which, by the way, also is what I put forward to the board and the comptroller. He was reconciling the town accounts. This is where it gets really strange to me. He was reconciling the town bank accounts to his books, and she was reconciling bank accounts to her books.
Yeah.
Um, Now he sends her words, not mine, his bank reconciliations before she does her bank reconciliation. So who is balancing the checkbooks? This is where I'm confused. And because of the fire account, it's a lot more work now. And she's sending him all of that before he does it. Now they're checking in more often. And in that process, They haven't found that their books don't match. The fire is a big one. Reserve accounts now having to accrue for the own portion of interest each month adds another layer. It is getting us these reports every month, adds another layer. The grants tracking the in and out, she does all of that and getting the reimbursements, but he still has to account for all of that in his system. Now, I will tell you that I asked, and I believe it was the, I have to look back, but I think it was the park grant. I asked for a report showing how much money has been spent, and how much is being reimbursed. Could not produce that for me. You know what I got? I got a whole bunch of bills to be paid, copies of bills that had to be paid. And in this month's budget, there now, as I mentioned in the last thing, there is a H account, which is capital investment for the sidewalks. This is the way, oh, we should have done. Right, I did mention that in the report to the board and to the comptroller.
This is why we're horrible people, because gosh forbid.
Like, I am just like mind blown that we're getting accused
We're
of
the
all
bad
these
people
things.
because we're pointing out the things that aren't being done the way they're supposed to be done.
And
They're
again, I don't
ridiculous.
care if it's the Pope. Right is
Yeah.
right, wrong is wrong. It's all smoke and mirrors. It looks like we
Again,
have all this
right
money.
is
We
right
don't.
and wrong is wrong. I don't care what side you're on. I don't give a rat's patootie. It's right or it's wrong, period.
There's a lot more activity in our town, in our highway, with the ins and outs than most other towns. The $4,800 is for the rest of the year. So here's another problem. So then it went on to talk about the landfill monitoring, which again, I will tell you, I pulled the resolution from the county. I read the resolution for the county. That $625 was not for landfill monitoring. It was, here's some money. We don't want anything to do with it. This is your problem. It was put into a reserve account. I'm assuming there was a resolution for it. I can't find it because we have no archive files. It was put into a reserve account. And so now the monitoring is starting, and it's approximately $20,000 a year. So we're going to take out money. We're going to take a loan out of that 625,000 and put 20,000 in to pay those bills this year. Here's the problem with that. On paper, we look like we're doing really well, but if you actually look at the numbers, we're still $400,000 ish in the hole, which means although the reserves and the special funds look like they're funded, that 403 ish actually is coming from where? It has to be one of the reserve accounts. It's presumed that it's probably out of the landfill account. So we're worried about 22,000, but technically available money is negative. Available money that can be used is negative for over $400,000. We have bigger issues than 22,000. All right, so that is my comments on the financial stuff, but be prepared that we're gonna have our taxes raised. The new task tracking system. So it goes back to 2025 with a list of tasks that have been presented and if they're done and if they're not done, which I think is good. My opinion, I feel like a lot of those tasks that the town supervisor is involved in, she doesn't need to be. My opinion. That's not fact, it's my opinion. So that was basically the rundown for the town board meeting. Now we're going to get into the final privileges of the floor. Final privilege of the floor. Jim Carroll. And I will say that during council member Tipigraph's conversation in regards to the seniors, I did see Jim get up and sign in for final privilege of the floor, and I'm like, oh boy, she gonna get it. I'll give you the recap. He said, often privilege of the floor brings questions that may be touchy or a little painted to be answered. Pointed. He thanked Craig for asking where all the senior money is going. And he said just the facts. All we needed was just the facts. And he said his expectation as a taxpayer is when he asks a question, that they just get the facts, just the info requested. He doesn't want to hear someone's name dragged through the mud or their old voting record or did or didn't do something. Just the facts is all that was needed.
Because it wasn't about any of that.
Correct. He came up with some good recommendations, which Tammy had brought up some of them, that instead of money for party time, which another member of the public thought that was horrible that he said that, that maybe have a group that gets paid. And he listed some things like shoveling a path so Wheels on Wheels can deliver without walking through 2 feet of snow, taking their trash cans out, bringing their trash cans in, cleaning their gutters, something more meaningful than dinner at Mario, something long term. And then he followed that up with a funny was like, or you could just, pay my tab at the brewery. I mean, and Jim is right. I mean, and he has spoken about how things get out of handed at board meetings before, like when Craig was getting, or no, it was Scout, when Scout was getting slaughtered, that those meetings were just getting out of hand. So.
And everybody knows I have never been a Craig fan. Craig and I have had our differences. That's not, anything, but I'm here to tell you what they pulled, what Susan, the way she approached that whole thing was basically to emphasize and chastise Craig and not really answer the question.
Well, she did answer the question, but it took 20 minutes to get there. I thought that his privilege of the floor was spot on. There was another privilege of the floor that I was a little taken back on. And the overview is thank you for Susan's info using privilege of the floor as harassment. Asking a question that has already been answered, which it was not,
No, it was not.
Wouldn't be asked. Now using this process as a form of harassment because he lost the election. She did refer to herself as a taxpayer, but she is a renter, but in theory, I guess she helps pay the taxes by rent. It pisses her off that people are wasting our money and the town board's time and now the additional reports that need to be produced by the accountant that are unnecessary.
They
and that
are necessary.
That we're wasting taxpayers' money.
If it wasn't necessary,
it wouldn't be happening.
They wouldn't be doing it. Okay. So to this person, I say, sit back, be quiet. You are just simply spewing at the mouth because you are a cheering section for Tistria. Period. That's all you sounded like last night. Because nothing we've done has been nefarious. Everything we've put forth are facts and truth. And obviously, again, I say, if it wasn't facts and truth, they wouldn't be changing the way they're doing things now.
And anything that I find out is not a fact or a truth, I correct that. Mm-hmm. So now we come to Mr. McGinnis's final privilege on the floor. This one actually got me worse than the first one. Oh, before we get to that, Jim Dawson had mentioned the community forum that's happening on the 30th and wants everybody to go, and they're experimenting and trying to figure things out. So David was touting, the things that the seniors do for other seniors, and they try to help. And again, that's not the point.
No.
Mentioned that Craig is a member of the seniors group, but he only shows up at election time. He's doing this for other means. He's wasting town time. We need to get back to the good neighbors. And then he follows that up with social media blogs just exist to get people stirred up. My asterisk here is I feel sorry. I'm not upset anymore. Like I'm a little agitated. I'm sorry that certain people don't understand what we're trying to do and why. We're trying to get more people involved. which will help bridge the gap. And if we can
They
all kind of understand what's
I
going
think
on.
they do understand it, and I think that they're just so, again, it's when you live a privileged life and things are going well, when you're suckling up the teats that work for you, um, you don't care what other people have to say.
We didn't, they didn't get elected for a reason because of that. We didn't get elected for a reason. But again, here we are focusing on one level of vote. And what? I listen to, I mean, there are things that Tammy and I discuss where that I don't necessarily agree with her. There are things that we discuss that she doesn't necessarily agree with me. But guess what? We can appreciate each other's opinion and come to a common ground.
And I mean, we're to outsiders, it might have sounded like an extremely, you know, to where I've even said to her in the process, please don't think I'm mad at you. I'm not mad at you. It's just, you're so passionate about what you're feeling at that moment.
Exactly. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to accomplish here is that can we find some common ground? It's unfortunate to me. I'm glad that I brought this audit stuff up. And I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And I wasn't meant to win the election.
No, no, I agree with
I
you
was
here.
meant to bring this forward for the taxpayers.
Yep.
I'm not bitter that we lost.
And also, if we were being vindictive and all this, a lot of this stuff could have been brought up during the election, and Joanna chose not to.
Tammy
She
tried to get me to do it.
to stoop to the
So
level of playing what someone called dirty pool during the election.
it wasn't us.
She held herself to a standard, and not everybody did that.
And truth be told, there was people that were like, you got to get it out there. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yep.
I'm not going to do that. And I
So
didn't.
while, people like David were out there slandering and lying, Joanna took the high road.
High road is getting harder and harder, man.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I could be that person. I could be downright, I could be Phyllis 2.0. God, if she was here. But that's not and I mean, don't get me wrong, mom had some, she did a lot for a lot of people. But she and Greg Bomley Sr., boy, if this was happening when they were alive, oh boy. My point is there are a lot of things I know. A lot
Also,
of
I'd like
things.
to quickly interject that Joanne Amlaw has helped David out quite a bit for things. He even said it at the meeting, that there's been times, where someone will let your dog out if you're running late from something, meaning Joanne Lamlaw, and helping him out. But yet in the same tone, he badmouthed Joanna and slandered her. That's community. That's being a good neighbor.
So his goal was to make sure Craig didn't win.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you.
Community and being a good neighbor, though.
I'm going to tell you that there are some people that believe that Talk of the Town was the reason that Craig didn't win. I totally disagree with that. Because of Talk of the Town, a lot more people were paying attention.
Yeah.
And a lot more people registered to vote. Our turnout for that election was huge. I needed 11 votes to win. Craig needed 12. So it wasn't because of the drama. It was because some people didn't get out to vote. And then again,
David also needs to stick his majority comments that he kept making. Again, you want unity, the whole town should matter.
Well, like Katie said,
what the majority.
Katie said, in her public to the floor that you have to stop, and that's the ego. See, again, the ego thing. But like Katie said, if you're sitting here thinking, well, this is what the people voted for, it wasn't that big of a margin, right? Let's not forget.
He was a prime example of what Katie was saying as well.
Let's not forget that 40% of the town supervisor vote went to a write-in. A write-in. Imagine if she was on the ballot. Would she have won?
A write-in that I was told by the other side in the beginning had was a no go to begin with. So they weren't worried about this person. This was a nobody they were worried about.
40%. And then there was like 70 people that didn't vote for either. And also there were people that didn't know how to do the write-in and was asking the poll workers and they can't tell them.
Right.
If Darla was on that ballot, she probably would have won. But nobody can see that. It's about, oh, we won and that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
It's a shame. There are a lot of things that I know, and some in writing, but I'm not that person, and I'm finding it more difficult to try to remain neutral and biased because this is not what I want. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring things out, the facts and truth. And if something is not fact, I retract it. I'm not out here going, this person is a blah, well, maybe a little bit today, but this person, is a blah, 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 and a no good whatever, and getting all personal. And no.
She plowed through the last two privileges of the floor because she was in a hurry to leave. So that was,
Well, and Mr. Modine, and I knew this was going to come up about no recording at the community forums. And that actually had some pretty good words to this. It excludes the elderly or the handicapped. And let's be honest, most elderly people are not going to go out at 7 o'clock at night.
right.
And again, it's a lack of
Seven.
transparency and an evasion of accountability. And it only protects the administration from scrutiny and policy pushback. He's absolutely right. If we're going to be transparent, we're going to be transparent. I still
Yep.
haven't looked at the open meeting laws on that, but he's not wrong.
Nope.
So if you want to catch, the highlights, there you have it. And again, I don't know how to get through to people that we just need things done right, and it's changing. This is our money.
Yep.
And I'm sorry that you're upset that there's an audit. It had to be done.
Exactly. Don't get mad at the messenger. Sorry.
I mean, and thank God that Joanne Scout and Craig did get that to the comptroller.
Absolutely.
And clearly things are changing. Sorry, not sorry.
We can see where the sour grapes are, and it's not with us. There's absolutely zero sour grapes with us when it comes to the election. Quick side note, I was thinking today, when they start the progress on the park, I will make a point to go out daily, every other day, whatever, whenever I see progress, and I will be taking some pictures to post on our page to show people progress. I figure Matt, might be helpful with the situation since I'm right here, and it will be so easy.
Yeah, you got a Zoom camera? Hell, you wouldn't even have to leave the house. Just be
It'll be so easy. I can sit in this room too, as a matter of fact, and
exactly.
So I will be bringing updates on the park, being that it's convenient for me.
It's very convenient. I think that's all we have for today. I tried not to be super harsh, but I was just so disappointed.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody though that does support and understand where we're coming from, and everyone that does interact, and those that do appreciate what we have to say. We are extremely grateful. And all we ask is that people listen to the facts and understand, again, wants and needs and where we are right now, and show the compassion that so many claim, but we don't see.
So this is the one last thing I want to say about this, in that in those privileges of the floors last night, they were attacking people.
Yes.
We're not attacking people.
No.
We're questioning policies and procedures.
Yep. And, well, did I have something to say today about people? You bet your sweet ass I did. And, well, again, we're not just going to keep turning the other cheek. At some point, enough is enough. And if you're
Yeah.
mad and you have sour grapes because of what is having to happen now, shame on you for those that have, oh my God, heaven forbid, things be done the right way. You've got a messed up sense of freaking logic.
I mean, don't you want to know what our actual financial status is in the town? If we're worried about $22,000, we
Yeah,
have big problems. Do you not realize that? We have big problems if we're worried about a $22,000 reduction of money that wasn't ours to begin
right.
with. All right. On that note, another
Be good to
episode
one
of
another. Have a
yeah, learn
lovely
how to love,
weekend.
not hate. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week. Next week on my agenda is to discuss the 1965 comprehensive plan and the 1965 proposed zoning. So that should be fun but different. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.